or even your ordinary governor. He first made history in the 1980s when in his 20s he was elected into parliament, becoming Kenya's youngest member of parliament at the time. He went on to vie for the presidency, albeit unsuccessfully, and went on to become the Minister for Lands in the late Mwai Kibaki's administration between 2008 to 2013. He then transitioned to Senate, where he was the senator for Siaya for 10 years, including being the Senate Minority Leader. He went on to transition into the county government and now sits at the helm of the Siaya County Government. I am describing James Bob Orengo, who's not only the Siaya governor, but also a father, a lawyer, and a human rights defender, known for shooting straight from the hip, never mincing his words, and never backing from a fight, be it legal or political. And today we have the privilege to speak to him. Thank you, sir, for making your time for us here at your rural Siaya home. It's quite beautiful, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
How is the festive season treating you?
Well, it has been peaceful, quiet, but of course we had this incident in which we lost Sarah Jirongo over the month of December. But I think, the festivities, once they begin, calls us into action because, our roads are jammed. People don't get, a means to travel to their rural homes or to places or destinations for holiday. But all in all, I think it's been a peaceful year, peaceful festive season.
It's quite good to see you because 4 months ago, there was a period where some say you took a political hiatus, and rumors began to circulate that you are unwell, you had been taken ill, probably in India or the UK. Then came a letter that would later be dismissed as fake, where you had resigned to concentrate on treatment. You'll, however, make a comeback just a few days after all these rumors, where you spoke at the burial of the late Phoebe Asio, and you delivered a moving speech in trademark Orengo style. But however, Kenyans and residents of Siaya are still unsure of where you were during that period, and maybe they would like to know where was Orengo during that period when there were too many questions about his whereabouts.
I'm well. Let me begin with that. But I was in India. That's a fact. I went to New Delhi, where I spent some time with friends. Then I went to Hyderabad. Hyderabad, again, I have a number of friends who live there. A few years ago, I had gone to Chennai. There I have a friend who lives in Kenya but comes from Chennai. And it suggested to me that I should go to Hyderabad. That is a modern metropolis. I should look at what's coming up in that particular area in India. While there, of course, I went through some medical checkup, which I normally do. I've gone to Chennai, I've gone to New Delhi, I go to Bombay, but it was just that. And I thought instead of answering to rumors, I should just present myself, and then people can, make up their mind about what they thought my status is.
Yeah. Just a few months before then, there was a threat to impeach you. I remember covering a press conference by a group that called itself the Ramogi Professional Caucus. They were threatening to rally the members of the Siaya County Assembly to kick you out of office, claiming that you had refused to work with the national government. Were you aware of such a threat, and did it trouble you?
I'm aware, but the people really talking on the sidelines. I don't think they participate in mainstream politics. I think you get quite a number of people, whenever there's a new political situation, they try to take advantage, and they also try to make a name, or they try to get noticed. But I was never really, worried about that because, those particular professionals, they're not in the mainstream, politics or even civic matters involving CIA. I don't see a lot of them
Yeah.
taking part.
Yeah. I'd like us to shift focus to the elephant in the room, and that is the broad-based arrangement. And earlier this week, you claimed that there were people planning to sell the ODM party ahead of 2027, and you said you can provide the evidence. So who are these people trying to sell the ODM party?
I think for the moment they remain unnamed, but it is quite clear out there that the people are getting out of their way to try to get the ODM party into an arrangement that really doesn't make sense. I think before getting into coalitions, political coalitions, out of our experience over the years, it's important to take an audit. It is important to put down, matters that need to be addressed before you can make a decision to get into that arrangement.
Your criticism of the broad-based arrangement has been termed by some as double standards. You've time and again argued that the ODM party must maintain its identity and remain a strong opposition voice to hold the current government accountable. You've also said that you believe that joining a broad-based government will lead the party losing its glory and identity as the party of the people. Yet yourself, on the 5th of June 2025, walked into State House to meet President Ruto. And this is where they cite the double standard, because the broad-based arrangement is between ODM and President Ruto's UDA. You were in State House, and you emerged with a number of goodies, including 8 billion shillings to construct affordable houses in Siaya, 2.5 billion shillings more to construct hostels in universities and TVETs, 2 billion shillings for modern markets, and 1.6 billion shillings to electrify over 10,000 homes.
I think that is very wrong. I mean, a simple reading of the Constitution says that there should be, cooperation between the two levels of government. As you know, there are a lot of activities by the national government which are in the domain of county governments. For example, housing and health and sports. Those are issues which are in the domain of county governments. But as it were, the national government has set up funds to make interventions into housing, into sports, into health. And whenever those occasions arise, it is important that SEA as a county participates from the point of view that the planning and the implementation should be both a role of the national and the county government. It is on the issue of how the structure set out the Constitution works. I don't go to State House, to go on my feet, as it were, to beg. I go there on the basis that the Constitution requires that there should be equity and there should be fairness in operations of the national government. And even at the county level, all the sub-counties and wards are entitled to equity and fairness.
Looking forward to 2027, the ODM party has what some will say 3 options on the table. The party may continue to work with President Ruto under revised terms. This could mean ODM supporting UDA, especially in President Ruto's re-election, or even UDA supporting ODM. And you've had calls for President Ruto to join the ODM party. The second option on the table will be you reuniting with your former partners. That includes Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper, Eugene Omalo's DAPK, as well as Martha Karua's PLP, and bolster the opposition chances of making President Ruto a one-term president. And the third option is going it all alone, presenting a candidate and rivaling both the united opposition as well as the government, the incumbent president. Which of these 3 options is best for ODM?
I think the option of working with the united opposition, that has not been in the works at all. And I must say that we should be clear about it. What we are talking about is what is on the table that has been pushed through negotiation and operations, as it were, that now has made ODM have certain relationship with Kenya Kwanza or the UDA party. What worries me from a historical analysis is that both at independence, where the colonial government tried to create regional parties. You know, Mboya had the National People's Conventions in Nairobi. Jaramogi had a party purely for the Nyanza region. Muliro had another party. You know, they were trying to regionalize and ethnicize political movements. And post-independence, there was also that attempt when Jaramogi resigned from KANU, and he crossed the floor with quite a number of members of parliament. In fact, it could have been a majority of members of parliament. And Mboya came with a constitutional amendment that required any member crossing the floor having to resign and going back to the constituency for a fresh mandate, a fresh election, as it were. Now, that had the effect of ethnicizing the Kenya People's Union. It had support nationally, but by the operation of the politics of the day as driven by KANU at the time, it became a regional and if not a tribal party. Now, Moi also tried to do the same when we had this big national movement forward. He brought everything on the table to enable political parties to emerge out of Ford. Matiba went his way, Kibaki went his way, and we had all these regional parties. Now, I think what Raila did out of the realization that regional parties could not be an answer to the demands of Kenyans, he strived to build a truly national party, which is ODM. And ODM is found more or less in every region. Now, I see an attempt to try and drive ODM to become a purely regional and if not a Luo party. The elements of the party from other regions are fairly quiet when we have, this civil war within the party. And therefore, when you do that analysis, if we choose to work with Kenya Kwanza or UDA, most likely ODM is going to be a small party. It will be pushed back into Luo Nyanza, basically. And we must be very conscious of that effort. And you can see some pronouncements which make it look like ODM is purely a regional party, is a national party. And I think if we are not very careful, we may be driven in that direction. I think we have about 10 or 12 months which we can spend in building ODM as a national party, reap from the legacy of Raila Odinga, and thereafter, talk about coalitions, talking about working together with other political formations. But now what is in the agenda is that we should work with the UDA government. And I think that the effect of that is that we may grow into a smaller and a smaller party. I think we should talk as parties which are strong. And so far, ODM still remains the most popular party in Kenya. And that would mean that when talking to UDA, we are the big brother in the room. And that must be taken into consideration.
Yeah. You've spoken little about the united opposition, but when Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka came to Opoda Farm to pay his last respects to the late Raila Odinga, it was on 6th November 2025. You had very kind words for him. And we saw the camaraderie between you and the Wiper leader, as well as the Kamba Council of Elders, even gifting you an iconic and a very significant walking stick. And we saw that match by you. And, it was hilarious. But looking at that and looking at Kalonzo Musyoka himself, he's supported ODM and Raila Odinga in 3 subsequent elections, including in one where he was not even on the ballot. Do you think it will be fair for the ODM party to back him this time round?
I think, as I said before, this is not really the time to talk about, coalitions or potential coalitions. I think the first thing following the death of Raila Odinga is the time to build the party. Make sure that the leadership that has emerged and is emerging has acceptance and strength across the board. But I have no regret about what I said about Kalonzo Musyoka. I think if you were there when we were making negotiations for him to stand down for Raila Odinga 3 times in a row, it was extremely difficult for him, extremely difficult. And as it were, even in the last elections, if you look at the turnout in Ukambani particularly, in his strongholds, and the votes that he garnered for Raila, in terms of percentages, in the region of every constituency over 85%. I think that is something for which we can appreciate what he did for the ODM party and for the leader of ODM, Raila Odinga. But that is not to say that a decision has been made, and neither is it to say that is my most preferred candidate. But I think he's a good human being.
Onto a topic that I really wanted to talk to you about is Raila Odinga. He passed away on that fateful morning of 15th October 2025. Where were you when you first heard the news, and what was your first reaction?
Well, I was really shocked because the day before, it was on the 13th, the deputy president was in my office. And at that time, he called me while we were at my office in Siaya. And we had intended to have him close the international conference we were holding, which was beginning the day he died. And Raila was supposed to close that conference on the 17th. So he was talking to me, expressing concerns about how that conference was going to go, and how he had challenges coming back to close the conference because he had a trip also to make to Dubai. He talked to the deputy president in my office, and we were together with the party leader, the ODM party leader, Dr. Buru Oginga. So on the 15th, when we were just about to go through the opening sessions of that international conference, we get the news that he had passed on. I mean, it was a shocker. It was tragic. He didn't give me any signs that he was extremely under the weather. He was upbeat, and I could not imagine that he would have been in a situation where his life was in danger.
Yeah.
So it was a big shock for me. And for when we got the news, we had to stop and postpone the conference in India.
Yeah. For how long had you known him?
Raila, I had known him for quite a long time. I ran into Raila's brother. The first person I knew in his family was his brother, known as Agola Oginga. He was my schoolmate at Ambira boarding school, primary boarding school. And it was at that time, Raila was out of the country, pursuing further education in Eastern Europe. So we used to talk a lot with him. That is the brother, about his brothers, Oburu and others. But then when Raila came back and joined the University of Nairobi, I had many, 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 interactions with him, including his father. And then when when I ran for the student leadership at the campus, and then eventually ran for parliament as a member of parliament for Ugenya, association was not at just a personal level, but it became a political relationship. And at that time, we were working, of course, very closely with his late father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga.
Mm-hmm. What fond memories do you have of Raila Odinga, and do they include instances where you could not see eye to eye?
The most memorable moment I had with Raila was in the morning of the decision of the Supreme Court on the elections, 2017 elections. He came to me. We were operating from a hotel in Nairobi, somewhere in Karen, with all the legal team, which I was acting as lead counsel. Mm-hmm. And he was concerned about, the outcome of the petition.
Yeah.
And he was asking me whether he should come or keep away, because he was saying that he rather not come to the court if the decision was going to be not in our favor. So I told him, no, I am sure that we have won this petition, and please just put on your best suit, and we go to the Supreme Court. And we kind of celebrated. We were jumping in the room almost as madmen, because we were saying, we have won this, and it is not going to stop there. After we win the petition, on pronouncement of the decision, we will go to the people again, and I am sure you're going to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. The only thing that happened thereafter was that we later on decided that we should not participate in the elections. People really don't know that, we used to have a lot of debate and arguments. And this started from the time when we were working with Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. We used to meet quite often with the Mwites, the Manyaras, the Joagers, and Raila, of course, with Jaramogi. And we'd have heated debate, and sometimes tell the old man in the face that on this one, you're wrong. That included the time when Jaramogi decided to work with President Moi. We had a lot of arguments over that. I remember telling Jaramogi that, and this is when he had flown from Kisumu to Nairobi on the same plane with Moi. And I told him, that's a disaster. You destroyed the framework of the Constitution, because the people should always have an alternative, and therefore it was not right for you, to ride in the same plane. But even with Raila also, we had moments when we didn't quite agree with many things, but we also always said that despite those disagreements, or any disagreement, we should always find a path, to move forward rather than backward. We should never make one step forward and two steps back. And those moments included the issues around BBI, in which I had a lot of misgivings about, and about some of the amendments that were being made to the Constitution. Even as we speak, I would be very hesitant to any moves to amend the Constitution, because I think amendments tend to be opportunistic to serve certain momentary purposes. In fact, even very individual purposes. So I think a great constitution like ours should never really be amended unless there is a proper need. And the drive should not come from politicians who, you know, are in office or outside the office. I think proper constitutional amendments should really come from the people, people-driven, rather than through the people who are in the political class.
Upon his death, there were many photos of him having a good time on social media. And there was something constant in most of the photos shared online, especially on X. And what was constant was you either, if it's a party, you're either alongside him or somewhere in the background. And then jokes started to come up that whenever Ida, the wife of the late Raila, was trying to reach Odinga and couldn't find him, she will call you, and even without saying hello, she will tell you, give Raila the phone, I would like to speak to him. Or whenever Betty, the first lady, wanted to speak to you and couldn't get a hold of you, she will call Raila and tell him, without even saying hello, give James the phone. Has that ever happened?
Not really, not really. I think it was out of a very close association. Uh, uh, we, we, we were together many times, on matters, politics, matters to deal with, public affairs, and that meant that occasionally or quite often after those meetings, would end up in a social situation. But I think it was a really light moment, and a way of trying sometimes to describe that relationship. I think the point that it was making is that we were very close at some point.
Yeah. What do you make of his contribution to the country?
Really big contribution. There's a time when I said that probably Raila is the greatest Kenyan that ever lived. Constantly trying to bring about change and reform. And he was never comfortable with the status quo. Even when he was in government, for example, when the Grand Coalition government, he kept on coming with the ideas that we could do better. When he was in the NAG government, when he was in the Grand Coalition government, I think that's when the big ideas about the economy, about Vision 2030, and about amending the constitution, really, or coming with a new constitutional order, really came on the table. And I think without Raila being in government with President Kibaki at the appropriate time, we probably would never have achieved the Constitution 2010. So I characterize him as a progressive politician, and also as a radical whose actions was tempered with a degree of pragmatism. But he was never satisfied with the status quo. He constantly was pushing for change. And the other thing that I liked about Raila Amolo Odinga, whatever arrangements he went into, and he had a cooperation with Moi, he worked with Kibaki, Uhuru, and also with President Ruto. But what the spirit that was driving him all the time was to bring change and reform, not only on the constitutional and legal front, but also for to bring policies and programs that could impact positively the lives of our people.
Yeah. Upon his death, we saw him awarded the country's highest civilian award, and that is the Chief of the Golden Heart, CGH. And we also saw just the other day, President William Ruto promised to rename Talanta Stadium after him. What do you make of the government's decision to honor him in such a way posthumously?
Well, Raila deserves those honors, and I think I regret that those honors were not being, given during his life, and it's a typical Kenyan situation. We tend to honor the dead. We didn't at all during his life, particularly in opposition, treat him as a statesman. He was many times, intimidated, arrested, detained, shot at, and those were not the things that you do to a person that you would eventually, consider to be a great statesman.
Yeah.
I think it's a typical Kenyan thing because you remember it took the Nobel Peace Prize that was won by Wangari Maathai for Kenyans to think that Wangari Maathai was worth some of these honors. And it was after he got that award and after his death that we started treating Wangari Maathai as a hero. The same thing happened with Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. There was an attempt to give him some kind of state funeral, but there was a lot of objections by us in the opposition because we thought Jaramogi had been really tortured and taken through a rough time during his stint in the opposition.
Yeah. Let's switch gears to Siaya, and this may be an obvious question, but will you be seeking a second term as the county boss, and will it be on an ODM ticket?
Well, my party is ODM. I intend to remain a member of the ODM. I think the question of running for office as governor for Siaya is a natural desire and consequence after serving the first term. But I must say that whatever decisions that I make will will be determined by what is happening in the national politics, because I think that there are issues out there that needs attention that we must come up to talk about and push through, so that the many battles that we have been engaged in making Kenya a democratic nation that respects human rights is maintained and protected and defended.
It's been slightly over 3 years since you went at the helm of the county government. What will you term as your greatest achievements so far?
Well, I think when I went into county government of Siaya, I said that I would consider 9 main pillars, but the most important for me was health, agriculture, uh, education, and water. And I think in the field of agriculture, just to make one of our major achievements is that we have built a rice mill and improved the lives of the rice farmers in an area known as Usonga, in Alego Usonga constituency. And I think that was a game changer. We had nothing that we can call an emerging agro-industry at all in Siaya. And we want to follow this with the construction of a ginnery in Rarieda constituency. In the level of health, of course, we have built several health institutions. And right now, there are modern maternity wings nearing completion. One in Yala, one in a place called Barndege, one in Okwala. In Siaya, we have a new surgical unit that we are now, equipping. Together with the national government, we are building a facility worth more than 1 billion shillings to make Siaya referral hospital, a proper level 5 hospital. In the area of education, we had teachers in ECD centers who were not employed on a full-time basis. In fact, most of them were being paid by parents and communities. And there were more than 700. We managed at the beginning of last year to absorb all these 700 teachers to employment on permanent and pensionable terms, out of a belief that the early years of in anybody's life count, and if anything goes wrong during that period, you know, the growth of the child can be negatively affected. And then we have got the school feeding program where we are providing, food to ECD learners, and that is working across the county. So overall, I think there are many things we have done in the health sector, in agriculture, in education, and in water. We have a big water scheme in Central Sakwa that was going to cover Central and South Sakwa. Now, under the mantra that the future is urban, we have tarmacked several roads in some of the municipalities and trading centers. That is Siaya, Ugunja, Bondo, and also Usenge, Ndori, Akala, and Yala, and Sega. And if you go there, you'll find some of those works completed or going on.
Mm-hmm. Away from local development to local politics, how's your relationship right now with your deputy, William Oduol, especially after that impeachment attempt in 2023?
My relationship, I don't know how to describe it, but he has got a job. And as far as I'm concerned, we didn't interfere with his office. But the most important thing for me and for the people that I work with is that there should be collective responsibility in the things that we do as a county government. And so long as we are working or operating on those terms, I've absolutely no problem.
Okay. As we come to an end, I'd like you to give your final message to the residents of Siaya, to members of ODM, as well as to Kenyans at large.
Yeah, first of all, I want to wish people in Siaya and the nation as a whole a happy New Year, and I hope the New Year 2026 will be a better year as we drive towards 2027, when we are going to hold general elections. I also wish to affirm my faith in the party Orange Democratic Movement. I appreciate the fact that it's the biggest and the most popular party in Kenya, and I hope that the membership remains united, and in that unity get the best for the membership and for the country. That ODM should not be transactional or opportunistic. I think we should protect the legacy of Raila Odinga as a defender and promoter of democracy and good governance, and that should be the guiding principle. As for Kenyans, we got a great challenge, but I urge them to be eternally vigilant. Governments are very difficult animals to deal with at whatever level, even at the county level and at the national level, obviously. So I want to urge Kenyans to be eternally vigilant that as taxpayers and as Kenyans who should enjoy the fruits and promises of the 2010 Constitution, it is upon them to protect those rights and to get their fair share of the promises of the Constitution, as I say.
Mm-hmm. All right. And thank you once again for your time, sir.
Thank you.
We also wish you a happy and prosperous 2026.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, that has been Siaya Governor James Orengo speaking to us on a myriad of issues, from his absence from office back in August to what he thinks of the broad-based government, to what his relationship was like with the late Raila Odinga, and finally to his plans for Siaya County. If you missed any bit of this interview or you would like to watch it again, be sure to catch it on all our social media platforms, and that is at NTV Kenya on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, as well as on our website. God bless and have a happy 2026.